did you say? Okay. Anyhow, so, so why don't we set the mood for this whole thing? We're talking about procurement and finance and all of that. So if you really want those secrets, those real world secrets for your students to have success, you have come to the right place. So welcome students, welcome educators to the Infineum tour that Lois Best has put together with the Chamber. Now you know Lois, and so she's put this whole thing together with the Chamber. And I would like to introduce you to the stars of our show. And they are, we have Christina Saguero, and there she is, and wait, Christina, there she is. Okay, and she's a global procurement services leader, and she's here to give you the future requirements, for procurement. So she's going to specialize in that. She has a very mixed background. I like her background: procurement, finance, supply chain, manufacturing. Boy, it makes you tired just starting it. So anyway, 20 years with Infineum. She started as an admin. She worked her way up, and you said they supported you, through your bachelor's and through your master's. The company supported you, so it gave you a lot of growth. And here you are, where you are now. As a human being, she is a Union County resident. Her husband is an Infineum family member as well. He's 21 years with Infineum, and she has 2 kids, and she is a Cub Scout Den leader with Boy Scouts of America. So I get it? I do okay? Okay.
Thank you.
And then we have Omar Abdel Salam, and he is a financial analyst. He's been with Infineum for 3 years now. And he is going to talk about the dynamics that are changing in finance. And he's going to focus on the skills that are needed that you never learned in school. So he's going to go get the real world stuff and get you prepared for that, then what employers look for. And he believes in hard work. He likes teamwork, values teamwork. He values his team members, and he's inclusive. He likes it when people like one another, which is very nice, because we do. We like each other. And he enjoys doing what he does every day, and also advises everyone to do the same. He likes listening to music, his sports, especially football. And before the pandemic, he was a Sunday Community League. He was on the Sunday Community League for football. So these are the 2 main stars of our show. I would also like to say a special thanks to Camila Cuevas. She is the Director of Operations with the Chamber, and she puts all this together with Rebecca Lovelace. So she's the assistant to the president of the Chamber, Jim Coyle, and Eric Novoslawski, Director of Special Projects for the Chamber. I also like to give a shout out to the people who are on the committee. I'm just looking at by the way, I chair the committee. I've had my own business for over 30 years. I train executives in management, and that's what I've been doing, and I chair this committee for the Chamber. So, and I see some Chamber members here. I see Carmencita, and let's see, and I see Elroy, and Glenn, and let's see who else is here. So if you're from the Chamber, shout out and say your name for the committee.
Lois Bass from Infineum.
Eric Novoslawski.
Anyone else on the from the Workforce Education Committee?
Elroy
Morano. Oh, sorry.
Carly, good. And Elroy.
Glenn Best.
Good. William, good. Okay. All right, very good. So we're going to now take it to the movies. And the movies is going to be We Are Infineum. So this is a good introduction to what the company's all about. They're going to take you on a tour. And Christina and Omar are going to take it from here. Camila is going to be our Zoom expert, and you're on.
With production facilities and business and technology centers around the globe, our products are sold in more than 90 countries across every continent. We're one of the leading formulators, manufacturers, and marketers of fuel and lubricant additives.
The transportation industry in the 21st century is highly competitive and faces many challenges.
Our technologies are a key enabler for bringing engine performance to new levels of efficiency, reliability, and effectiveness.
Everything we do revolves around the reliable delivery of our products,
which in turn provides superior performance to our customers.
Our experts create innovative additive solutions for the world's transportation industry, capable of meeting today's increasingly demanding environmental standards and engine performance specifications. Our additives treat over 5 million tons of car and truck lubricants and are inside 1 in 3 vehicles.
We believe collaboration is the key to solving real-life challenges through science.
We work closely with our customers and OEMs in automotive, small and large engine manufacture,
sharing mutual expertise and knowledge to create a cleaner future.
Our in-depth understanding of the physical and chemical processes, as well as the marketplace,
enables us to bring the best solutions to our customers.
Our fuel additives treat more than 150 million tons of diesel fuel every year. We are Infineum.
Our first-class technology and successful business results are built on an outstanding talent base.
Worldwide, we have just under 2,000 colleagues in multicultural and multifunctional teams.
We want nobody to get hurt working for Infineum.
The safety of those who work for Infineum is and will always be our first priority.
We believe all injuries are avoidable.
And we investigate all incidents regardless of whether they cause injury as we strive to achieve that goal.
Infineum safety performance is in the top 10% of all chemical companies.
And up to 5 times better than others in the oil additives industry.
The acronym CARES forms our values, capturing the essence of everything we do.
It helps us to deliver our promises to our customers, our suppliers, our colleagues and our communities.
We're focused on delivering technology excellence through innovation, through investment in research and development to create best-in-class products, delivering increased efficiency and performance you can rely on.
Okay, that was very nicely done. Very nicely done. So, so now I guess we will start with you, Christina, right? And you will go ahead and have that.
Yep, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. Hopefully, let me know if everyone can see.
Yes.
Okay. You can see me and hear me. There you go. All right. Well, I thank you. Take the opportunity to say thank you to the Chamber, to the students and the educators and Lois and Lynn and Camilla for inviting both Omar and I to present today and talk to you about Infineum. As Lynn said, I will be celebrating my 20th year with Infineum actually in a couple weeks. It's been a good 20 years. It's a long career with many opportunities to work with some really great people and to move around in different functions and benefit from having those opportunities in helping develop my career as it stands today. So who's Infineum? You just watched the video, right? I have the added benefit that my husband also works for Infineum, so we're an Infineum family. So we talk shop a lot, but you know, when you think about oil additives, you think, okay, what is that? So it's everything that helps make the oil work for whether it is the engine of your car, the transmission, you know, companies that refine oils. So you know, pipelines, terminals that hold fuels and oils. All these things need these additives to make them work. So additives are the ingredients, the added ingredients that make the oil work for us. Okay, like you know the video said, you know, there's a plethora of areas that we do business in. So there's a there's a passenger car, right? Those are the cars that we drive every day. We do heavy duty trucks. Those are the things that Amazon and the Walmarts and the ShopRites are using to deliver all the goods across the country to make sure that everybody is stocked up, right, for what they need, moving things between the ports across the states, right? So transportation. So we have our hands in a lot of areas of this business, all right? So what I do at Infineum is I work for procurement. So, you know, and Omar will be talking about the finance portion. So what is procurement traditionally thought of, all right? We buy things, right? But for Infineum, I have had the opportunity to buy raw materials that go into the products that we make. I spent 6 years as a raw materials buyer. We have a group that does logistics. So again, we talk about the additives that go into trucks, but we also, on the procurement side, we do contracting for transportation. So getting our products from our manufacturing facilities over to our customers, moving products between our facilities. We do contracting for that area of the business as well. We do contract management. We talk about contract management. It's from the creation of the contract itself all the way through negotiating with our vendors on the terms and conditions that we're buying goods and services under. Part of contract management also involves the whole life of the contract. It's not just, oh yes, we signed something. It's also all the day-to-day activities that happen with that vendor as part of the purchasing department. When you think about services and indirect materials, so that's where I've been for the last 3 years. Indirect materials, what do you think of? You think, okay, the paper stock, the pencils, the pens, the electricity, the air conditioning, the security. Those are all areas of the business that the business needs done in order to operate on a daily basis, right? You need your electricity, you need your computer, your IT equipment. All that stuff is what indirects and services does. That's where I've been in the last 3 years. Procurement also ensures internal control requirements. Sorry. So every time we purchase something, there are requirements, right, that we meet internally that prevents any risk or eliminates risk as much as possible, whether it be fraud or safety incidents. You can see from our video that we're very safety conscious. So procurement is like a gatekeeper of our safety requirements when we work with vendors. It's our job to make sure that our vendors are capable of delivering the goods and the services, not only at the right price, but also under the right circumstances that comply with our requirements, okay? We also contribute to the bottom line with savings. By negotiating contracts and working with finance on our terms, when we pay, how we pay, those are important aspects of purchasing. We also contribute by managing those vendor relationships, those commercial vendor relationships. So it's not just, oh, go get me my stuff. It's also cultivating relationship with our vendors. Some of our vendors we've had on board, 30 plus years at Infineum. They're like an intricate part, and some are really tied into how we do our business. That's how important they are. So we call those strategic partners, right? And then maintaining and adhering to audible businesses processes. So it's not just about following controls, but it's also following your processes. Identifying areas that when the process is not working, you have to adapt and change and make it work better. And then streamlining across all the organizations, because we're an international organization. So we're doing business in multiple countries, and we have to make sure that we're doing business in the same way as much as possible, okay? So from all of that, you can say all businesses, whether you're in the private sector or in the public sector, depend on the expertise of procurement professionals, right? Whether it's from your lights, your pens, your pencils, your paper, your software, your computer equipment, right? All the way to the widget that I need to manufacture, for, in our case, additives, or a barrel of oil to manufacture additives. So all that is part of what purchasing encompasses, right? If you've ever had the opportunity to interact with the procurement department, hopefully, for some of us that have been working for a while, traditionally the idea of procurement has been, oh, it's a transaction-based organization. They do, the getting and the executing, but that is really changing in the last couple of years, I would say. So we're moving from that transactional tactical focus, right, into what we consider a strategic business partner. So what does strategic business partner mean? It means you're in the details all the way from the beginning, which is I'm setting my budget. So finance, right? Finance is setting a budget, or a project team is thinking about, you know, what are the things that I need to invest in for the future of the company. If, you know, procurement now is part of those discussions, or is making the effort to be part of those discussions, so that down the line we have an idea of what's coming. You know, do we need to augment our talent? Does HR need contracts in place to be able to recruit? Does manufacturing need engineering services contracts in place so that when the project's ready to move and they have money, they can go ahead and execute the service from an engineering company? So that's what we mean by strategic business partner, and in relation to procurement. So we're in the beginning and we help carry the execution all the way to the end. All right. So because in a global market, as we all know, it's competitive, and to be competitive, you have to have these things in place to be successful, right? So when we talk about procurement before, we talk about this this procure to pay process. This, I will point to here, which is on the right-hand side. So, you know, request, you get the request, you execute it, you issue a purchase order, you do the invoicing. That's what we traditionally thought of procurement, procure to pay. And now we're doing this in a holistic picture. So that whole entire circle is the area of the business that my focus is on now, right? So it's source to pay. That's what beginning is the same as source, and to pay, which is when we finally send the last payment to the vendor, okay? And all of this is being enabled by digitalization. I'm sure everyone's heard this word by now, digitalization, right? We're all doing it in some form or another, right? We're using Zoom, Google Class, we're adapting to all these new tools that are allowing us to do business and business better, not only in our personal lives, right? Like Amazon, right? This is also applies to businesses, right? So, so most likely, the procurement professionals in the future would definitely be expected to work with these software and cloud-based platforms that are enabling this transformation of procurement. So when I talk about digitalization, we'll talk about platforms like e-procurement. Believe it or not, we already do e-procurement, right? You think of Amazon, you go to a website or you go to their app and you put stuff in the cart and you hit order, right? That's e-procurement. So that's what we talk about, tactical. That's like day-to-day things. You want to get groceries, right? You go to the ShopRite app, you put everything in a cart, the same concept. That's the tactical routine transactions that are being enabled by these e-procurement tools. And there's quite a few platforms or companies that are offering these tools. If you're interested, you can go out and read business reports by consulting companies like Deloitte or McKinsey or LEK. Those are some major consulting firms that put out reports about industries, and you can read up on what is up and coming in the particular areas of whether it be purchasing, finance, manufacturing. Those are all available. The majority of them are available free online. You Google it and you can read up on what's going on, and that can help kind of influence what you think about what you're going to do for the future, right? We go back to the tools and the platforms. We're working with e-sourcing. So e-procurement is the tactical stuff, like the day-to-day. You know, I want to buy from Staples or Amazon. The e-sourcing is, I know I have a big activity going on and I want to bid it. So I don't just want to find one company I want to do business with and do that. I want to see what my best options are, right? An e-sourcing tool gives you the opportunity or the platform to say, hey, world, I need this service. Come back to me, let me know at the best price, what you're offering and why I should do business with you, right? So before it was procurement chasing. Let me go find something. Let me go find a company who can give me this. Or now there are tools, these platforms where you can issue your requirements what we call statements of work, and companies that are in that industry or in that business can come back to you and let you know what their capabilities are. So it's opening these avenues of new opportunities to doing business with not just businesses locally, but also nationally and internationally. So you think of, let's say, base oil, right? We buy base oil, but it's not just coming from the US, it's coming from Europe and other locations, and we ship things to other locations as well. So a contract that I may be negotiating here is an international contract because it's purchased at all of our facilities across the globe. So it has a farther reach, and that's what these e-tools are allowing us to do. Digital exchange, it also encompasses contract, what we call contract life cycles. So I said before, purchasing does more than just getting the stuff you need. We work with legal, we work with finance to make sure that the terms under which these services and goods are purchased are beneficial to your company. So let's say, our standard pay terms are 60 days. So we pay our bills every 60 days to a vendor. The vendor wants to get paid sooner. So we negotiate on those terms. So they're beneficial to both of us, right? And the one key thing I would say out of that is when you negotiate, it's not about who wins and loses. It's meeting in the middle, right? It's a middle ground. It has to be a win-win for both parties. So procurement enables that as well. We talked about, I mentioned Amazon and ShopRite and all these apps that have opportunities to let you click and purchase, right? So we're implementing things like guided buying and electronic catalogs. So our business, we have a plant facility in Linden, and we also have a technology facility in Linden. We're across from each other off of Route 9, right? So what Bayway needs may not be what the technology center needs, but we do share some common things like our contract for stables. So does it make sense to, someone here and there having to call and order things through Staples? No, we've instituted what's called a catalog. So Staples says, this is everything I have available. Here's a website. You click on it, you search through the things that you want, and you can buy whatever you need, and it gets delivered to you automatically through the contract that's already established in the background, right? So it's just like at home, personally, you're doing the ShopRite and the Amazon and things like that. So we also are using platforms that facilitates vendor management. So it's not just about having a plethora of vendors, it's having the right vendors. You want to have contracts in place with the right vendors. Like I said before, we have some vendors that are long-standing. They're kind of moving into the structure of our company, especially over at the plant facility. We have on-site general contractors that have been with us for 20 plus years. So those are strategic relationships that we have built with vendors, and you want those type of contracts in place. And so procurement supports the establishment of those contracts and searching for companies that can fit that bill, right? There's some things that are tactical, like I said before, that's the day-to-day stuff, but then there's things that are very specific and specialized for the industry that you're in. So, we have tanks that are built and they have to be built to specific specifications to meet the safety requirements of New Jersey. You want to make sure that you're doing business with a company that not only follows those specifications and meets the requirements of the state of New Jersey, but also, is doing business ethically and safely. So procurement kind of facilitates the assessment and the risk assessment of those vendors before they're put in place. So, like I said, purchasing, again, the old school thought was very tactical, transactional, when in fact it's really, we've kind of evolved into this strategic partner where we're adding value, not only by the things that we're doing, the execution of the day-to-day stuff, but also chiming in early on as possible to influence who we're doing business with, the timing of executing of contracts, to add value to the business, okay? So with all of that, you can imagine that there's procurement is going through this evolution, right? But there are still plenty of career opportunities in this area. So at Infineum specifically, we have all these roles in the procurement organization. We divvy up our purchasing into clusters, what we call clusters. So there's a cluster for indirects and services. Again, those are the day-to-day, the electricity, the gas, the lab equipment, the widget that you need for the manufacturing unit. And then we have raw materials. They're tasked with purchasing the base oils, all the custom manufactured chemicals that we use to make our additives. And then we have a logistics department who's in charge of all those contracts I said before, of how to move our inventory and not only to customers, but in between our facilities. So we ship things that are manufactured in the US, we ship them to Singapore and vice versa. And that department takes care of making sure that we have those international transportation contracts in place to do so, right? So we have cluster managers. We have a manager for each of those clusters. Then we have a services leader role, which is what I'm doing currently. So part of the procurement evolution is also identifying areas where you can streamline, right? That tactical stuff that is very day-to-day, where you can minimize the interaction between the client and the system as much as possible. You want to automate. So we're working with what we call BPOs, or business services providers outside of the current structure. So we've outsourced some of our work to a procurement specialist company, and they facilitate that tactical aspect of the business. So they're streamlining it, and they're making those transactions in the background. So we don't have to spend our time doing that, and we can spend more of our time doing the strategic stuff, talking to our clients, whether it be manufacturing, global engineering, and working with them to implement their purchasing strategies for longer term views, right? So that's my role currently as a service leader. The sourcing leaders, all right, that's the group of management that oversees the buyers. We have buyers, just like we have cluster managers, we have buyers for each of those clusters, right? So there's a handful of buyers that specialize in those areas, and they manage the contracts in that particular category, right? So we have category leaders. What's a category leader? So we talked about cluster. Well, then in that cluster, there's a category. So let's say I work in INS, I'm the cluster manager. Within that cluster is a category of HR services. There is consulting services. There's IT services. So it kind of breaks down. It's like a branch, right? It's a hierarchy. Kind of breaks down into smaller pieces that need specialization, and that's what the category leaders and the sourcing leaders assist with, right? And then there's the catalog and managers and administrators. So we talked about Amazon. Well, there's someone but working in the background to make sure that everything runs smoothly with Amazon, right? Every little item that's available on Amazon is put there by someone. It's vetted. It's confirmed. For Amazon, they have 10 vendors that supply that one item. So there's someone in the background who manages all that, and that's what we have catalog managers and administrators for. And then we have operations buyers, and those are buyers that are, again, more of the tactical activities. So someone wants to buy something, we need a purchase requisition, we need to convert it to a PO, the invoice comes in, it has to be processed, make sure that it gets receipted or a confirmation that we've received services or goods. So operations assists with all that. So a lot of opportunities in this field, and hopefully later, if you have any questions, I can answer them for you. So you can see it's not a one level across the board of who's working within procurement. There's several layers in purchasing. All right. So as part of that evolution and transformation, right? You think about, okay, well, what are the requirements to be considered in working in the purchasing area? So as a baseline, you'd want to have a bachelor's degree in business or related fields. So finance is an example. And if you aspire to, having an executive management position or a leadership position, my recommendation is to always consider a master's degree, whether it be an MBA or master's in supply chain management, or in finance, or in any of those fields. A master's is definitely recommended if you want to move up in an organization. All right. The important traits and qualities, and I think that this is going to be across any type of organization that you're considered doing. So any organization you're considering of participating in, or business or a career, right? Strong critical thinking skills, analytical and problem solving skills, the ability to communicate, orally and written. Presenting is a skill. It's not something that everyone has the gift of doing, but it's something that is learnable, right? I like to say that a lot of these skills are learnable. This is something that grows over time with the opportunities that you take advantage of, right? Relationship building. I can't stress enough how important relationship building is. Like Lynn said, I've had the opportunity to grow within Infineum, but it's not just grow, but make these long-lasting relationships with every function that I've worked with. I had the opportunity to work with Omar previously. I was the manufacturing advisor in the finance organization for three years before I moved back to procurement. And those relationships keep doors open for you to be able to look back or look forward, right? So if something is not working out here, you always have options in another function, in another department. Or, if you want to grow, you can always call someone and say, hey, I've done all this. Where do you think I can go next, right? So having those relationships not only, benefits you personally, but also in the business day-to-day activities. I know that I worked in finance, so I know a lot of people in finance. So if I have something going on the purchasing side that I need help with, I pick up that phone and I can say, hey, this is going on. Can you help me resolve it? And that's not only here in our building or our two facilities in Linden, but that is across the pond as well. So I call my coworkers in the UK, in Italy, in Singapore, and we get things done that way. And it's based off of longstanding relationships that you have with the people that you work with, right? Negotiating skills, obviously, for purchasing, right? You want to be able to sit down at the table and have those hard conversations, whether it be about money, terms, or even having those discussions, those tough discussions where, hey, the service that you provided was not what we were expecting, right? But doing that in a way that it's not, that it's still on the terms of respect, right? There's always respect across the table, no matter what. Each business is trying to do the best for its own. Again, it's not a you win or I win. It's we work together to find an even ground. And even when we're having problems with vendors, we have a formalized process to help resolve it, right? So negotiating skills goes a long way in that. Complex decision making, right? It's not just thinking about the current right now. It's about thinking long term. I'm helping do this, but down the line, how's it going to impact payables? How's it going to impact finance? How's it going to impact, for me, I think about my client on their budget, right? We're coming at year end. Year end is very important for finance. We want to get all our transactions booked before year end. So on my end, I want to make sure that my clients are aware, hey, if you got your goods and you got your services, make sure that you've said, yes, I got them in the system. So the system is able to execute the payments out before year end, right? Leadership skills. Again, these are leadership skills are something that you can learn over time. I know for myself, in going through the different roles I've been in, it's a learning process. You grow with it. I've had the opportunity to grow with Infineum, so it's been great. But for some, it'll be a little different. It'll be, I'm here a couple of years, I'm here a couple of years, and that's okay. Whatever path you choose to take in your building your career, it's just important that you take the opportunities and the tools with you, right? To think of everything that you get to do as an opportunity to build up your toolbox. I guess that's really what I would say, right? Strong sense of ethics. I think this is something very important. It doesn't matter what company, it doesn't matter what industry or what job, specific job you have. It's not only about the final results, it's how you get them. That's really key, right? You want to make sure that you're doing the best that you can do for that particular role and company that you're working for at all times, right? And computer skills, I think that we're all kind of agree that that's something that you have to be, I think the word is flexible and adaptable, right? Whether it's in Microsoft, PowerPoint, Excel is a huge thing because I'm in purchasing, I look at data, a lot of data. And Omar will attest to that. And for finance, big data is the word, one of the key words nowadays, right? What do you do with all this big data? All these systems are generating, you know, a plethora of amounts of data, and companies are using that data to help them make decisions. And I think it's really key to understand that that's going to be important no matter what industry that you're in, right? Meeting platforms, Skype, Zoom, Google, all right? Again, all that goes back to adaptability, right? That's it from my part. Are there any, I mean, we could, Lynn, do you want to do, or Camilla, do you want to do questions now or wait till the end? I'll let Omar take over.
I think we can wait until the end after Omar.
Okay, all right, Omar.
Okay, the thing I'd recommend is that everybody have a sheet of paper, you know, in front of you. Write down your questions as they come up, you know, so that you have them, and then you can, if other people talk, you have yours written down, so you make sure you're recognized and have your question answered. So, so yeah, to write down your questions as they go along, and then when question and answer time comes up, you'll be set. You'll be all ready.
Okay. Let me share screens. Sorry. Okay. Screen 2. Share. Okay. All right. Just everyone, let me know if you could see the screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to touch on a lot of what Christina covered can be rolled into finance. So I'm going to really focus on the things that stand out in terms of finance in comparison to procurement. So what does finance do? A lot of people assume an individual in finance is sitting in a back room just going through papers and filling out documents and you know, keeping track of costs, and but finance is actually completely different. You get your hold in dealing with several different departments and several different vendors, and you get a large foothold of doing multiple things. So I'll focus on some of the things that finance actually does. One of the main things is the month-end close, and what the month-end close does is pretty much you take all the information from the month and you put it together to ensure that your results at the end of the month is correct, and that includes putting in any costs, any expenses that come in that haven't really been kept track of, which are called accruals, and ensuring that all our information is accurate to move on to the next point, which is actually generating the financial statement for analysis. The financial statements really tell you your results at the end of the month and what you're doing at that point. You want to kind of be able to look at results, look at where your results changed, and how to. So for example, if you see something that looks off or looks different in comparison from month over month or year over year, you'd be able to look into it and try to see what changed and how to proceed going forward. For example, if you have an area which requires improvement, where you spent more than what you expected, what went wrong or what led you to do that, and how to adjust or adapt going forward to ensure that you're more in line with expectations. Business reporting is well, sometimes you get requests from other departments within the organization to look into something, how much a vendor, how much we purchased from a vendor, how much a customer bought from us. So you have to be able to provide the different departments, whether it be procurement, legal, sales, or those departments with the information they need in order to be able to perform their role or their job. There's the tax preparation. There's fixed assets. Every company has assets that they need to utilize in order to be able to perform their business. And you provide support in regards to that. Payroll, everyone needs to get paid. So we're responsible for doing the accounting behind the payroll. There's payment processing in order to ensure that vendors are paid properly, paid accurately. And on the other end, where there's check receipts, where we receive money coming in, and we make sure that the money that's coming in is deposited correctly and put in the right place. And finally, you need the technical expertise that you learn throughout school for internal controls. Internal controls is to ensure that the processes that are set or put in place are doing what they are intended to do. And audits is back to make sure that the processes put in place are being followed and being followed correctly. And it's bigger than that, but that's the main gist of what the audits are. And a lot of times you end up working on projects and ad hoc requests. There's an emergency and they need finance's technical expertise or their background in order to be able to support a certain project or certain something that came up. So you work in a wide range of things within finance. I'll focus on a couple of roles within finance, but general accountant, that was my previous role before I moved to being a financial analyst, which is really, you do provide support in all aspects of month-end close, generating the financial records, and serving as support to other departments when needed. As a financial analyst right now, my job more focuses on project work and looking at final results to ensure that the final results are accurate, and if there are any issues or any problems, to be able to explain what changed or what went wrong. And then you'll see there's a lot of advisors. So generally each department has their go-to person in regards to advisement for issues or for analysis within their department. So you'll see there's a supply chain business advisor, there's a manufacturing advisor, controls advisor, sales advisor, and each one of these roles helps are more expertise in that department or provide more support within that other department within Infineum. We'll move on to educational background. So it's very similar to what Christina discussed for procurement, but you'd want to have at a minimum a bachelor's degree, either in accounting, finance, business administration. A master's degree would put you, when applying for a job, it would make you look like you have more technical expertise because you studied for longer, but I would say it's not required, but preferred. Also licenses, again, they're preferred, they're not required, but you want to have either a certified public accountant where you go in and you take a test to acquire a license within accounting, a certified financial analyst or certified management accounting. These are certain things when applying for jobs that companies do look for. Moving on, and I think this is the most important aspect of whatever I have to say today. So if there's one thing that you're going to take, that I want you to focus on or take from this presentation, it's this part, which these are things, because for the most part, a lot of us go to school and we study whatever our field is, but these are the things that set you apart from the rest of candidates. And that's teamwork. You want to make sure that people like working with you and that you like working with people and you have the best interest of the team and the organization at heart. That's important. You have to be able to get along with people, because within finance, within procurement, you're going to work across departments. You're going to work within individuals within your own team, and you're going to work with vendors, outside consultants. So you have to be able to work with people and work as a team. Problem solving, you want to be, some situations you're put in, you have a problem and you need to find a solution for it. And sometimes it's not very clear, but using your background and your knowledge, you try to find a solution that works given that problem. Project management, believe it or not, finance is moving more towards being more actively involved in projects, because a lot of stuff nowadays is becoming automated. So the general dry work that an accountant does or a finance professional does is going away, because a lot of that is done through systems. So you are going to move towards working on projects and being able to manage projects and properly ensure that projects are implemented successfully. Communication, you want to make sure that you have a strong verbal as well as oral communication. And as Christina mentioned before, this is something that can be learned. Work ethic, you want to make sure you have a strong work ethic regardless of where you go. Time management, this is a really big one, because sometimes you will have competing priorities, whether it be working on a project, your regular day-to-day tasks, and on top of that, you get emergency things that come out of that are unexpected. So you want to make sure that you have a good sense of time management to be able to prioritize tasks based on what are more important as opposed to others. And that's something you do learn through high school, college, and going forward. And finally, leadership. Leadership is it's something that is learned, and going forward, if you do want to progress ahead in your career, you do want to have the characteristics of a leader. But again, this is something that could be learned through training courses and as you go along within your career. If I could give one word of advice in terms of leadership, as a leader, you always want to make sure that you treat your team or whoever you work with how you would like to be treated. And that's the backbone, or the biggest, I would say, basis in regards to being a leader. And as Christina mentioned before, networking is very important. You want to build relationships and build connections within the company to make sure that you are, that if you need someone, they're there for you. If someone needs you, you're there for them as well. And that all ties back into teamwork as well. And with that, I think I'm done, and leave the floor open to any questions anyone may have. Let me just stop sharing. Okay, sorry. There it is. Okay.
So I'll ask a question real quick. Has anyone that's present, thought about a career or possibly a role in either finance or purchasing previously? Is that something that you would be interested in?
Could also be if for the counselors and the educators, have you discussed something like this with your students? Has that come across? Has the topic even come up? And if not, this is a good time to introduce it to them. So.
I believe finance comes up quite often, business, but not in the detail that was just provided. And I tried to see, you know, the whole range of the finance, and that's basically what you covered, which was good. I do have a student who said he's interested. So I think being able to present this to the other students in more detail, especially with the procurement, that I'm sure most of my students had no idea, as well as myself. You know, I had to look it up and research it. So just introducing them to a different honed-in career was great.
I'd say that procurement, purchasing, finance, supply chain are really three functions that are kind of really working together in the background for all types of businesses, whether it's the Gap in retail, right? They need to buy the things that they need, or manufacturing like we are. So those three functions definitely lend themselves to kind of meld together. So like I'll say, I didn't start out with a finance degree. I started out with a history degree, thinking I was going to be a teacher. And this opportunity presented itself in supply chain, and it kind of grew out of my career grew out of that. So and my MBA has enabled me to move from supply chain to finance to purchasing. So it's kind of, you learn, and it kind of, so it's very integrated, those three functions. So there's plenty of roles or job opportunities now in supply chain. Absolutely, that is a massive growing field for all businesses.
What would you advise someone like a lot of the educators here and the students are seniors in high school? What would you advise if they are if they're unable to get a bachelor's, right, you know, go right into the four-year colleges or that kind of a thing? Like you said, you started as an admin, you worked your way up to where you are now, which is an amazing accomplishment right there. And Omar too is, you know, he's been working for a number of years now too, and you're both very successful in this. So what would you advise somebody who is, that education, getting it right away is difficult? Is there a way to come into the company? Does it reimburse you on the way up, like, you know, that kind of thing? Or how does that work? What would you advise?
So I'm, you know, traditionally when you're coming out of high school, you think, oh, you know, I'll go into retail or the restaurant industry or, you know, food service, right? Those are kind of the normal, you know, I'm just getting out of high school, need a job, need to make money, right? But I would say don't close the door to looking at companies and those admin positions. So lots of companies need support on the day-to-day activities in an office. Medical offices need admins, right? And you know, yes, the skill set is not a massive that's required there, but there is a lot of learning opportunities there. So, you know, the skill sets that are important are you're friendly, right? You're adaptable, you can pick up quickly, you're a go-getter. Those are the skill sets that are going to really open the door. And then from there is looking at those opportunities and seeing, okay, what else can come of this, right? For me, it was the education part. I went to school at night and I worked during the day. So, and Infineum as a corporation offered that tuition reimbursement. Look at a company like Starbucks offers college support, right, for their staff when they come in. They have management programs. And other companies have those development opportunities right within their organizations, because they realize that investing in their workforce is where the value is, right? So do research, right? Look up a company, see what they offer. As there's a lot of you know, the company websites. You go to career opportunities, and it gives you kind of a rundown of what's available in each of these companies. So,
if I could just also jump in on that. And I will respond to the question that showed up in the chat, but to add on to what Christina said, internships. Internships are a very good bridge toward entering the corporate world. And it could start as something as an unpaid internship in your last year of high school. And that will allow whichever company you enter to realize the importance of you as a candidate and how much and how well you fit within the organization, and they will be willing to invest in you to receive your education and move forward. Or maybe they are able to teach you as you go along through on-the-job experience how to move up or how to become a part of the organization. So I would focus a big part and put a big effort in terms of internships. And yeah, so in regards to the question that came into the chat, how do I stay up to date with accounting laws and other rules and regulations? There are several accounting publications. There are actually programs that we, Infineum, are part of, which are subscription services that give you alerts to changes within the accounting field. And on top of that, as a CPA or certified public accountant with your license, you're required to take continuing education on an annual basis. So within that continuing education, you do get a update in regards to changing accounting laws, changing tax policies, and you're able to, bring that back into the organization and adjust what you have to do or what is currently being done to fit or to be in compliance with those rules, regulations, and law changes.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah,
yes, go ahead.
No, because I have an MBA degree. I just recently graduated, but I haven't had the opportunity to have an internship in supply chain or procurement. And basically, I don't have that much experience. So I don't know if Infineum offer that kind of the internships for professionals, and if the internship is paid. I don't know. I just would like to know if you have any opportunities now for the coming semester. I don't know. Also, that is the best way to get into the company, doing an internship, or I just, I don't know. Sometimes I'm afraid to apply directly without having that much experience. I don't know. What is your advice on that?
Infineum has a really good HR section on their, well, it's a careers opportunities part of their website. So I would definitely steer you to the Infineum.com website, and there's a section there that talks about the opportunities. I don't know specifically about professional internships. I do know that we do recruit from colleges for internships with manufacturing. Lois, I'm not sure if you have more information on that. I think that's more like an HR question, but I would definitely steer you to the company's website because their opportunities are always listed there, right? The other thing I would say is, and don't be scared about applying to companies that offer temp services, right? I know that, when we look to augment our workforce, sometimes when we have big projects coming up, whether it be in finance or purchasing, we look, or we get assistance with contracts set up with temp agencies. And they kind of help with a lot of the vetting and all that stuff. But they're also a foot in the door type of route for a lot of folks, right? And those agencies help you with not only getting your foot in the door and making connections, but also with all the paperwork, right? They help you steer your resume in the right direction Sometimes we think about the things that we've done over time and we don't think, oh, hey, that really lends itself to a leadership aspect of what I've done, whether it be, in retail, if you're overseeing folks or you're assisting or you do customer service, those are all skills that are important to write down. And kind of, we don't think about it, we're doing it, we don't think about putting it on our resumes, right? So that's something that a lot of these agencies help with as well. So, and there's a lot of opportunities on like Google, right? It helps you, you can look up resume examples and things like that. And they're guides to help you, making sure that you're presenting yourself in the right manner when you're going to apply for jobs in companies. And research. A lot of corporations have all these career opportunities and requirements listed on their websites.
Thank you. And the question that I had, this question, can you tell me if the internships are paid at Infineum or no?
As far as I know, the internships that I know of, yes. Yeah. But I think it's going to vary by company. It's going to vary by company, by industry and profession. So.
Thank you so much.
And one other thing I'll say is don't be timid about applying. When we want to move within functions, we have to apply internally, and we have to go through an interviewing process as well. Just like if you were coming out as a brand new employee, we have to showcase our skill sets and our abilities and our desires, right? And in that conversation, even if the answer is no, you're not the right fit, you learn something every time, right? What's the skill set that I didn't have? What should I be working on? What other opportunities are available if this one doesn't fit, right? So, I don't take no as a no. No is a, how can I make it better? Make sure that I'm marketable in the future.
To add on to what Christina said, coming out of college, I didn't have any experience. I had minimal internship experience, and I had to learn at that point that I was supposed to have experience to enter the workplace. I applied to over 50, 60 roles. And at a certain point, some of them do respond, some of them don't. And some of them I went into interviews and I didn't get the job. But every single time I was able to pick up on something I could do better. And over time, you do pick up on questions that are repeated. Believe it or not, it's just a lot of interview questions. Sometimes they ask you the same thing. And in order to be able to have better responses and going through it and gaining more experience with interviews, whether I got the job or not, it helped me be able to appear like a better candidate in front of hiring professionals. So always have the confidence in yourself that you are a good candidate for a job, and it's the law of numbers. The more you apply, the more experience you get, the better you will become at it. Yep.
Thank you too.
One thing I'd like to build on with all you are saying is that learn how to network it. You get your jobs through people. A company doesn't hire somebody, a human being does. And you really need to get your network and to learn how to do informational interviews, which means you go through people who know you and they refer you and you interview. You ask questions, you ask advice. If your internship, learn to get to know everybody, everyone, because everyone knows something. And they will give you insight into the professions that you're going for. In this case, the finance and procurement. They'll give you insight into the company itself and the way it thinks and the way it functions. So those temp jobs, the internships, the networking, all of those things. I have a course, by the way, in how to get a job, and I did that because so many companies reorganized. So my clients, I just did it out of necessity, and I charge very little for that one. But it really is, you need to know how to do these things. It's like a fundamental thing to enhance your career. And so yeah, there's no substitute for getting to know people. And both of our speakers have mentioned it, the communication aspect of it, the skills that are outside of school. But you have to know the requirements for the job, and you have to know how to handle the people. And again, it's a human being that hires you, and that's the connection. So keep that in mind as well. What other questions do you have for the stars of our show? I mean, what other questions do you have? I know you've got them. Boy, is this the way it's going to be? Okay, so well, let's see if there are no other questions.
There's a question that came through the chat. What are the very complex parts of accounting? I think all parts of accounting are complex. No, but aside from that, I would say really sometimes when you do get into taxes, especially taxes associated with
Omar, that's the first word that came to mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially when it comes to taxes associated with corporate filings, it can get very complex, and sometimes there are a lot of rules and exceptions to the rules and exceptions to the exceptions. So sometimes that can get very difficult, but a lot of times we do use help from outside accounting firms. And from there, we are able to gather some additional expertise into the very, very complex aspects of taxes and accounting. Because as an accountant, you do go to school for it, you do study for it, but we're not computers. We don't know every single aspect of every single piece of accounting and taxes. So sometimes it's okay to say you don't know, and you go out there and you find someone who could provide the support that you need for certain complex accounting and tax situations.
That's when finance comes to procurement. And we find the best tax advisor available, right? At the right price.
Yep, 100%.
There was a question here about what's the average salary for someone in procurement. I would say entry level. It's decent. It's decent. It's I would say in the 50,000 range for entry level. But for someone that has a master's degree long term or has a lot of experience, it can go into the six figures. So it's a good career. Good career. It's one of the reasons why this is not my intended career, but it kind of fell that way, and it has worked out. So
I do see more questions coming in. Are there any accounting jobs for high school graduates? Believe it or not, a lot of times there are bookkeeping positions that could get you in the foothold of working for a company and maybe progress toward more of a finance job or more of an accounting role where you're working on financial statements and analysis. So bookkeeping, believe it or not, there are certain opportunities such as you could work as part of an IRS volunteer to help prepare taxes for individuals. I think it's called the VITA program. And that's a good opportunity for you to gain experience in regards to tax work. And that could turn into a job with an accounting firm preparing tax work for certain individuals. So There are opportunities out there for high school graduates, yes, to work within the accounting profession. I would say bookkeeping, and there's volunteering, and there's certain accounting firms that do look for support in terms of taxes and preparing taxes, whether it be an internship or a temp job or a seasonal role. So you could fit within those organizations.
I think payables is also something that's kind of good as an entry. A lot of companies have to pay their bills, and they have a system to do it with, but they need an admin to execute, right? And so you get in the door in payables and you learn that system, and you learn how to look at invoices and processing invoices, and then you can that opens the door. That's another entryway into finance. So.
Going on to the next question, what are some of the obstacles you had to overcome when going into accounting? Like I mentioned before, I graduated from college, and I had to enter the real world and kind of realize that I didn't have any experience when applying for jobs. So I didn't really stand out in terms of other candidates that might have been more experienced than me. So that was really tough at first. And it took me a really long time, not a really long time, but it took some time to actually find a role. And just to make matters worse, as I was graduating, I was also, my first role I actually started when I was in my final year of grad school. And then on top of that, I was also studying for my license, so the CPA. So I was working full-time, working on my master's program, and at the same time working toward achieving my license. So at that time, it was it was a very difficult time, and there was a lot of juggling and balancing. So that I would say at that point, that was my biggest obstacle. Within accounting, over time, you do things start to repeat. You gain an idea of the theory behind accounting, and from industry to industry, you're able to implement that theory regardless of where you go. Accounting is for the most part the same regardless of the industry. Okay.
Question: when do you think is a good time to retire in your profession? Well, the trend now is a lot of folks don't stay long term with companies, but Omar's been with Infineum a couple of years. I've been 20, my husband 21. We have folks retiring with 30, 40 plus years of experience with Infineum. So you can tell by that that a company, it's like a family. It really is. Long-standing relationships and careers. Retirement depends on a lot of things. So I wish 55, but nowadays that's not realistic. But it all depends. It all depends on what's going on in your life personally. How much you can put away and all that information. But there are companies where you can still have the opportunity to be 20 plus years working and have that benefit. So
I would, just to add on to that, I think it's a good time to retire in your profession. If you're ready for retirement, I think it's when you stop liking what you do. When you reach that point, I think it's a good time to retire. When you're waking up in the morning and you don't want to go to work, that's probably about that time. Next question. A few of the names of the agencies that hire people for Infineum. I think there's Robert Half. I think that's one of them. That's
account temps.
Account temps. Those are good areas where they do hire temp staffs for not only Infineum, for a wide range of companies. So I think those are two. And sometimes you could even go on LinkedIn, Indeed, They do have temporary roles in certain organizations. Glassdoor is another one where you could go and look for temp roles, temp jobs, as well as internships and believe it or not, for example, if you do move on to pursue your degree in college, utilize the Career Center in your college. They are very good in finding opportunities and finding organizations that are looking for students that are just coming out of college and finding internships for you. My first role I found through my Career Center within college, and they trained me, they provided me with the tools necessary in order to find the job, practice, and run through prior to interviews, so they will work with you. Yep.
I think Union County College, I believe, has several areas that they cover, whether it be in finance, but they have some activities going on with supply chain management as well. As in they do some accreditations, I believe, for supply chain.
Yep. What are some things that an accountant does on a daily basis? Okay, so well, some things that we do on a daily basis, we deal with a lot of questions that come from the business. So sometimes you have a payment that needs to be made, and you support that individual in order to make that payment. Christina, a couple weeks ago, she did have a payment that needed to go out, that there was no process put in place prior to making that payment, that we had to figure out a way to generate that payment. And we worked together with procurement in order to make that payment, and it was an urgent payment. Other things that you may deal with on a daily basis is questions. Sometimes sales comes to us with questions regarding a customer, and similar to what Christina mentioned, payment terms. Sometimes you receive requests from external credit companies that want to run a credit check on a customer. So Infineum is a reference to that customer and provide some details. So I would say those are some of the things that you work on a daily basis. Sometimes you get invoices, sometimes you get checks that come in that have to be deposited. So those are some of the daily basis tasks, and that's outside of the general month-end close process, where we gather all the financial information for the month and put it together to generate the financial statements.
Well, this has gone very well, and we have a few minutes left. If anybody wants to wrap it up, you know, your closing statements or any final question or anything like that, this is a good time to do that. Closing statements. Go for it.
One, thank you for the opportunity. And two is, everyone starts out new, right? Whether it's right out of high school or graduating college, there's nothing wrong with that. Believe in yourself, right? You've accomplished everything that you've gotten to up to this point. Just keep pushing through. There are going to be hard moments, like Omar said. Just the thought of going back and trying to do my master's in the evening while working full time, cringe. But when you're going through it, you're learning something. You're learning perseverance, commitment, and those are skill sets that you will need in life in general, whether it's in your career or your personal life, right? Paths change, opportunities change. Don't take no as the end. It's never the end. It's what's my next avenue, right? Keep every door open. Treat every person that you interact with, whether it be in business or personal life, respect and kindness, and that will come back to you. So, and whatever job you land after high school, think of it again. It's a door open. And college and university and higher education is never lost. You can do it at any time, right? You can, if you can't do it all at one time, you do it at night. You do it one course a semester. It's never beyond you. It's just how you prioritize it. So, good luck.
Very good. And Omar.
Yeah, to add on to what Christina said, thank you for giving me the time to present and provide any information that I could provide in regards to accounting. Yeah, never lose sight of yourself, never lose confidence of yourself. Have confidence in yourself, and regardless of what you do, if you put your mind to it, you will achieve it. At times, similar to what Christina said, things could be hard, things could be tough, but over time, just set your goals and set your targets and do your best to work toward achieving them. And in due time, you will get what you are seeking and what you set in terms of your goals.
Well, thank you both so much, and everyone at Infineum and Lois. And so this was well done. What was really nice about this as well is that you handled questions, both of you have handled questions from people in high school through retirement. And that says something, I mean, that says a lot. And people that could get an education right away, and those who have to work at figuring that out. So you did a really excellent job with that. So thank you so much. And if you would like, we can. I'd like to give you a standing ovation. See, like this is what we do in person. So if everybody would like to give them a sitting ovation, or if you just want to show them that you did really, really well.
Thank you, everyone. I said it in my text, but I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you so much, and Camilla, and
thank you,
and everybody. Okay.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Christina and Omar.
Happy holidays.